Coming up in this episode.
As a kid, I witnessed a lot of cruelty inflicted on people by these people, my family members. I'm always a bit paranoid, but I guess I better be paranoid and always look around and check and not be dead. We as Israeli Arabs are training our children to bring their children to always remember that they are not Israeli, but they are. Even before I became a Jew, I was always like a critical thinker. I had this inner sense of feeling of what is right and what is wrong. I knew that many things that my family did was wrong.
Shalom.
Assalamu alaikum.
This is Peace Talk, a podcast all about Israel
and the Middle East.
I'm Jonathan Sacerdoti, a Jewish journalist here in London.
And I am Moataz Khalil, Egyptian Muslim journalist based in London.
This week we have a very interesting guest, Timor Aklin, who is a YouTuber himself, makes fascinating videos about his status, having grown up as a Muslim in Jaffa in Israel and converted as an adult to being a Jew. And he now makes YouTube videos on his account, hidden in plain sight, with quite a big following building around the world. He's also featured recently on quite a lot of Israeli television over the last week or two.
Yes, and also expert in the Arabic society in Israel and the Arabic society in the Middle East.
Timor, thanks for joining us on Peace Talk. First off, normally I introduce people with a little summary of what they are professionally or why they've come to prominence, but it's quite hard to define what you're doing. I wanted to say influencer or activist. You grew up in Israel, an Israeli Arab, and you grew up in Jaffa, is that right?
That's
Where
correct.
You went first to Christian school and then a Muslim school. And at a certain point in your life, you decided that you wanted to understand more about Judaism, Jews, Israel, and to cut a very long story short, you ended up the guy we see before us today with this Israeli flag behind you and earlier wearing your talit before we started the recording. You're Jewish.
Yes.
How did this happen? Why did this happen? How come I came to know of you through Moataz, like seeing you on Israeli TV?
Listen, growing up, I was so traumatized by so many things, whether it was terrorist attacks, whether it was family members. For example, my grandmother, her sister, she was married to a PLO guy. She was a secretary as well. She was a PLO secretary in Gaza, in Khan Yunis. They died on the 7th of December during the war. But like as a kid, I used to visit them a lot. So as a kid,
Just
I used
now,
to go
during this war?
Yeah, December, 7th of December. So when I, as a child, between the age of 5 to 7, I believe, because afterwards it became more difficult to go to Gaza. It was messier. So we would go there often. Like I remember weekends going there. We'd go there on a Thursday or a Friday, and then we'd come back on a Sunday. It's not so far. Gaza is like an hour drive from Tel Aviv when you think about it. So growing up, I used to see these things, and I was always trying to, critically criticize what's happening around me, my family's attitude, their behavior, my social circle, even though I was just a child, but it's parents and their friends and their kids and their society. And I basically, because I'm an orphan from my father, I never met him, and my mother, she wasn't always there growing up. So I ended up being kind of loose. I was in this house and in that house, going to that grandma, that grandpa, and that uncle and that cousin. So, and sometimes even a friend, a friend of a family. So I sensed a lot of hostility that made me feel very, I don't know, I can't find the word, but it was heavy. It was like I'm lifting a heavy burden on my shoulders, even though I was just a child. And the heavy burden came from just hearing all the things I would hear in every single house. Now, I'm not saying every single thing in Arab people's lives is Jews. It's not like they're at home just talking about Jews. It's general things. I felt the lack of love. I felt the lack of understanding. I felt the lack of desire to lead and innovate and be part of like the new world. And really, I felt the lack of desire to invest in our future, in us as children, because of the amount of hostility I encountered as a child. I had a lot of problematic uncles. Some of them were gun dealers. Some of them were.
But Timur, you know that if we left Islam, you know what's the punish in Islam? They should kill you. Kill you. There is no hesitate in this point. As a result of that, what do you think?
Yes, but I'm alive. Alhamdulillah. I'm alive. I'm doing well. I think I have what Jews call hashgacha pratit. Basically, it's you feel the Spirit with you. You feel like God is with you, and that's how I feel every day. Every time I walk out of this door. Sometimes when I'm opening my car door and I'm putting the key in the ignition and I'm about to switch, I'm just about to turn it on. I'm like, boom.
You marry?
No, I made it. Drive and I hit the gas. So I'm always a bit paranoid, but I guess I better be paranoid. Always look around and check. Right, I'm not be dead.
Sounds very Jewish to me, but sad to say. So listen, you had this upbringing, and eventually, I mean, I know that you said also in interviews I've seen that you did a DNA test and discovered that actually you have some Yemenite Jewish origin way back that you weren't actually aware of. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, the DNA test came actually much later on. I met a Jewish friend that was French. From my very first videos, he followed me and he was active. And apparently, he has, I think, is on his way now to his PhD, and he studies genealogy and these things. And he's just obsessed with DNA. That's all he does, 24 hours. He sat down and explained to me, and then I was like, okay, so you also have Yemenite roots. You have Karaite roots, which is Egyptian Jews, Karaite. And then I had the Algerian, I had Tunisian, I had Libyan. I had a lot of Jew from pretty much a lot of Middle Eastern areas, which would make sense because I'm Middle Eastern. But I was a bit confused with the Italian. There was Italian.
I wanted to ask you something about the Arabic sector in Israel. Why is they pro-Hamas?
I try to avoid this word, but really, we as Israeli Arabs, me growing up, what I was seeing, what I was taught, is that we as Israeli Arabs, we cannot lift our hands and carry guns and go fight and resist and do that against the state, right? Even though there's no reason to resist. We have bituach leumi, we have social security, social insurance, we make good money, we live well, we live much better. Listen, I met people from Jordan. I met people from neighboring countries when I was living in Thailand, Not all of them came to me to try to kill me, right? But some of them did when they saw the Israeli flag. When I talked to them and we were comparing like standards of living, we were comparing salaries, when we were comparing prices, we were comparing these things, they were all jealous of me. And I never felt like, I was living like, wow, what? I just felt like I was living in a normal country, right? Now, why are the Israeli Arabs pro-Hamas? They are very connected to what happened here before 48. For them, they're holding on to this. Narrative of the Jew being the thief, the colonialist, and all these things. Even though deep down they know this land isn't there. Like the Arabs know it's not their land. There's something we say in Arabic. It's called kawa, and the word kawa, I've heard it since I was a kid. When I was young, people would just jump into homes. Arabs would just go jump into homes and steal homes all the time. And then the government wouldn't even know about it. And then after 15, 20 years, no one can remove them because there are all these lefty organizations that come and support them and help them and write for them letters and try to get them to stay at their home. And then they get a free home. So I don't know why they would support Hamas, but I just do know that it's a cultural thing because at home, us as Arabs dislike Jews. We're taught to dislike them. Even my daughter, this hurts me bad. It hurts me like so bad. Like talking about this now, I want to cry. I'm holding these tears. I took my daughter to the doctor. I was going to the dentist just, I think, 2-3 years ago. She's 11 years old. Took her to the dentist, and she doesn't speak Hebrew. unfortunately. She lives here. She lived here her whole life in Israel. And none of her friends, her girlfriends at school, they don't speak Hebrew as well. I don't understand why. And I was talking to her in Hebrew, and she started screaming in Arabic and in and out to me, "Don't speak to me with this language. Don't speak to me with this language. I don't want to hear this language." And she put her hands on her ears and she's screaming and she's jumping. And that's in the middle of Tel Aviv, right? So everyone's just staring at us. When I became a Jew, I remember like first time she saw me with a kippah and stuff, she ran away. And then she started telling me I have to hide my kippah if I see her. And she will never talk to me if she sees me with the kippah. And she's seen it a lot as well. Yeah.
I assume you're not still with her mum.
No. Me and her mom divorced when my daughter was just 1.
Before you converted to Judaism?
I got married when I was 17 and I got a divorce right before I turned 20.
Yeah.
And my daughter was born then. So
actually, that's quite fascinating in itself, because this means that despite having made this shift in your life, that you became Jewish, you inhabit quite a few Israeli positions. At the same time, you will never fully divorce from Arab Israeli, because you have a daughter who speaks Arabic, not Hebrew, and you have, the mother of your child, I presume, still lives entirely as an Arab Israeli without Hebrew, it sounds like, and yet you live as a Jew. You consider yourself a sort of Mizrahi Jew, I presume, in Israel. Tell me about how you deal with this kind of plurality of identities within Israel. You seem to encompass most of them.
Yeah. Her mother married a Palestinian. Crazy twist in the plot. But I don't know how to define I see myself as the blur between the secular and religious. I see myself as a bridge for Jews from both sides. I can be friends with a Hasid. I can be friends with a gay secular guy. I can be friends with a national religious guy. I can be friends with an atheist guy. I can be friends with all Jews. That's how I see it. And there are some people who see it, in a way where it's like, it's black and white, like if you're secular and you're religious, there's this tear, unfortunately. I feel it, like there's this rupture between the secular and the religious Jews nowadays, just because of the whole reform thing. It started during the past year, because the religious people are usually more conservative, and they were for the reform, and the seculars weren't for the reform. So I feel this all the time, but I always try to, just find a common ground. I always try to remind people, like, listen, we can agree on these songs, right? Because sometimes I meet Jews who are not Zionists as well, but that's what, it kills me. People assume that Nitwei Karta are like what non-Zionist Jews are. I go to a non-Zionist synagogue. I've been going there for 2-3 years. Like my Rebbe, the Rebbe is not a Zionist, you understand? But he lives here, right? But here's the thing. What people don't understand is that those who are anti-Zionist Jews, Haredim, etc., they're not anti-Israel. They're anti-Zionism in the sense where it's like they feel like the place is too secular. It doesn't meet their desires. They don't feel like it's Jewish enough or Jewish according to their standards. But they're not against the state. And that's what people don't understand. People think anti-Zionist Jews, that means, okay, no, they oppose Israel. They want to see it, they want to witness its demise or whatever. But it's not the case. So,
Okay, now you talk about anti-Zionism parties in the Israeli society. But Timor, when I see the picture, videos from Jaffa Amr, Al-Fahm, Magd al-Krum, there is anti-Israeli speeches there. As in the light of that, we have some characters. For example, Abdullah Namir Darwish, Sheikh Mansour Abbas, and Sheikh Ra'id Salah. Between two characters, how can you describe the Arab Israeli?
When we're talking about Mansour Abbas, we mean the Parliament member, right?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. But he's an interesting one, because it's like he's been playing on the fence. He's sitting on, on the edge. He's
As
been
a
doing
result
it
of that, they attack him.
Yeah.
Yes, in Arab, I mean, and the Muslim.
Yeah, he's trying to do what they call the Kodesh Khatunot, dance in two parties. They could work with him it worked for him with Bennett, but I don't think people are buying it anymore. He lost it. He lost it. He recently lost this fake image that he created for himself during the past 2 or 3 years. When he was recently interviewed, he got asked if he's condemning the killing of Israeli soldiers. And he kept saying, I condemn the death of all innocents. And if they ask him a sentence, I'll be asked a simple question. And he's like, excuse me, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. What? I can't. So he started pretending like he can't hear. And that went on for 2 minutes. For 2 minutes, they kept repeating the question and he kept pretending like he didn't know what was going on. And that's just, that's his downfall. There you go. It's over. But he shocked, I think, the Jewish world in Israel. He shocked the country 2 years ago. I remember in 2022 when he came out and said, you cannot deny the historical link between the Jewish people and the land of Israel. So when he made that statement, that was the first time people were like, wow, what are we seeing here? I know someone from al-Fahim, a Muslim soldier, actually, an Israeli Muslim soldier from al-Fahim. I got to talk to him a bunch of times. He actually just messaged me while I was talking to you. We compared our cities. We compared basically the amount of radicalization. We compared schools, teachers, from material to how people were speaking. It's very similar. It's very anti-Semitic. It's very anti-Israel. It's very pan-Arab. So Hamas is not. They're not the bad guys. Well, if you open Al Jazeera right now, are they bad guys? No, they're not. They took like a 5-second soundbite from like a very failed journalist. His name is Raviv Drucker, and Raviv Drucker says there were no. He didn't say that. That was taken out of context as well. But he was interviewing someone, and that person said that there were people and that there were children in a garden or something on that day, in the kindergarten. And Raviv Drucker said that's a lie. There was no one there that day. They took that piece, just that fucking 5-second shot, and they played it everywhere. And they just said Israeli journalist confirms that there were no murders and rapes on that day. They just took these 5 seconds, and these 5 seconds, he was specifically referring to that. And that's the information that they're consuming. That's what they're receiving every single day. My mother, when she was talking to me after the war, we don't talk often. We never talk. But she sent me a bunch of stuff like, your day is coming. And that's what she told me on October 7th. Is like, get ready, your day is coming. And she sent me a bunch of Quranic prayers and a bunch of like probably Quranic TikToks about what's going to happen to the kafir and all these things. So
wait. Your mother sent you this stuff that said your day is coming, as in, watch out.
He said, you Jews, your days are coming. Get ready, blah, blah, blah.
It's in the Quran, Joe. It's in the Quran.
Yeah, but his mom.
Yeah, no. She can kill him because the Quran tells her that. There is a part of the Quran. So sensitive.
Okay. I mean, I interrupted. Sorry, go on.
She every like for whatever reason, every couple of months, every 3 or 4 months, sometimes, I don't think she has a proper schedule for this, but she would send me a bunch of either Niture Karta video, the redos. That's how she captions the thing, because they're burning the Israeli flag, or she sends me like a crow eating the Israeli flag, which is, I guess, like a video that's been floating around. Or she would send me like a bunch of jihadi stuff. She would send me just a bunch of Hamas content, or Al Jazeera stuff, or Middle East stuff. Middle East Eye, it's a very popular Palestinian page that just releases stuff all the time. Yeah. So she just sends me a bunch of anti-Israel, anti-Jew, and like a nice dedication on the bottom, like your days are coming. This is gonna happen, and that's gonna happen. She sent me actually just yesterday. She wrote to me, "Hisab al-Yahud Karno."
Yes.
What does it mean?
That's our revenge from the Jewish. Be more close.
It's closer.
Yes.
It's clear, in terms of time now. We're talking
I
about
think
time.
Khalid bin Walid said that. Khalid bin Walid was the most popular Islamic fighter. Says that to the Jewish. حسابكم قرب. We revenge from you. Yeah, I think that. But it's a call to kill. It's not.
I'm sorry. Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm the softie here among us three, but like, I'm sorry to hear this.
Probably.
It makes me sad to hear that that's kind of your interaction with your mother. Does it make you sad?
No. It doesn't.
Why?
It's a good question. I think it's a very, very long and detailed answer. I would have to explain to you the relationship between me and my mother for the past 25 years maybe. And it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. She's a single mom. I'm an orphan, never know my dad. She did not have a healthy environment around here at all. A very negative one, I feel. And she radiates that negativity while she was raising me. I'm very, very glad not to be, in her cultural clutches, that I did not get caught in that, and I managed to escape. Even before I became a Jew, I was always like a critical thinker, and I had like high emotional intelligence. I had this inner sense of feeling of what is right and what is wrong. I knew that many things that my family did was wrong. Like I said, I have uncles or criminals, gun dealers, drug dealers. As a kid, I witnessed a lot of cruelty inflicted on people by these people, my family members. Actually, I have one crazy story to share. One time, the very first time I went to this one synagogue that is not too far from here, there was a guy that I met, and I loved him so much for whatever reason. He was like a 55-year-old, really nice guy. And every time I saw him, he would like, just seeing him would make me feel good. Like, it would make me feel happy. And then the very first Shabbat I had at that shul, he comes with Chamin, it showed this, and it was so delicious. It was the most delicious I ever had. I was like, why is this thing that I'm feeling for this guy? And then I came and I asked him, like, hello, how are you? And I got to know him a little bit more. He was sharing his life story, and he suffered a lot. He went through a lot. And like literally he was tortured when you think about it, whether it was mentally or whatever. He was a drug addict at one point. One thing leads to another. He was tortured and tormented by my uncles, by my own family. And that was the insane moment where I was just like, ugh. And that was at the shul. And it was so random. I randomly went there. There are so many synagogues everywhere. Why just go to that one eventually? Just like the guy, and then on Shabbat he brings the chamin. He makes my day. He makes my year. It was so tasty. It was so good. And then I went for like maybe 2 or 3 months to that shul just for the chamin, because I was like, man, it's so good. I had to come here. So every Shabbat in the morning, so 5:45 in the morning, I would walk to that shul. It's amazing. And then he told me what he told me, and I cried so much because I remembered how cruel my uncles were, and now I'm seeing a human being in my face, and I know that cruelty was done to him. So it was very hard to digest.
We've spoken to a few people in the course of the podcast who, like yourself, have started out in one place and made a mental journey to another. And I mean, we've spoken to other people born Muslim who became Jewish. And it always is interesting to me because I think what you have in common is that strength of individual thought, critical thinking that you're talking about. It's very easy for any of us to grow up in the same framework that our parents were in and to adopt it and to live in it. And sometimes it's easier than others, I'll grant you. But what do you think, what can be our hope for the future more broadly? You know, speaking to you, you're a very unique person in having made this journey and these decisions and done this thinking. But how do you think the future looks for our people more broadly when you're the outlier? What do you think the future is for the majority? How will we all get along?
Yeah, this is something that I think about 24 hours. This is something that never leaves my mind. It's very hard. It's very hard to give you the real answer, because the real answer is something people don't want to hear. But the thing is, it's like this. If we're talking about the Palestinians, if we're looking at things from their perspective, they don't want an Arab government. They don't want any Arab rule. They don't want the Palestinian Authority to rule over them. They don't even want Hamas, right? Now we're seeing this. It doesn't mean that they're Zionists. It doesn't mean that they're lovers of Israel. It doesn't mean that they're going to turn pro-Israel overnight. But they don't want these things. In Arabic, we say, Allah la hakkam Arabi bil-Arabi, meaning, may God never allow an Arab man to rule and govern over another Arab man or judge them. So over there, they have an issue with that. They have to work on that. They have to find a way to dismantle the PLO. Here in Israel, we have a lot of work with our identity. Israel does not have a constitution yet. It's very fuzzy for everyone. People don't really understand, like, how should they identify, you know? I think every single person in this country, including some Jews, they have this identity issue. And when I say Jews, you know, sometimes I'm referring to like maybe someone who has an Ashkenazi father and a Yemenite mother or something like this, and maybe it's a mix, or maybe sometimes it's something else. So he doesn't maybe know how to do it. But with Arabs, I feel like it's more complicated. There's complexity. There's the flag, the Jewish flag. There's the national anthem, that even if you want to take out the word Jew, because apparently some people think if you can just change the word Jew to Israeli, you forget the context of the national anthem, which is an exiled 2,000 years, the hope to return home. So it's very difficult for Israeli Arabs to really feel like they belong, but they know that they belong because they're born here. And that's what they know. They know this place, they know the people, they know the language. So Israel has to do a lot in terms of helping people educate themselves. They have to, I think, change the curriculum for the Arabs, and it needs to, I think, teach more about the Jewish history, teach more about why this land is Jewish land, and try to really just avoid, you know, there are loopholes, you know, that there are places, for example, my school, my principal was extremely patriotic in terms of Palestine, right? She would teach us Palestinian songs, Palestinian art, and she would have us regularly sing the Palestinian national anthem every morning when we came to school, and that's here in Jaffa, and we are Israeli Arabs.
It's a Christian school, right?
It's a Christian school. So it's like, it's difficult because we as Israeli Arabs are training our children to bring their children, to always remember that they are not Israeli, but they are. But at the same time, it's like, what's Israeli? Because again, we're going back to the flag, we're going back to the national anthem, we're going back to what is this place? So it's very difficult for people. So if we can't solve that, and if we can't, you know, have someone topple the PLO and remove them, we're left with Gaza, and Gaza is a hell. So I don't really see anything coming out of this. I don't really see peace happening. I want peace more than anything. I just don't see it because, as we say in Hebrew, Olam ki min hagun oed. You know, it's the world is the way it is. You know, it naturally is the way it is. I'm not sure if I'm translating that right, but unfortunately, I don't believe peace will come here. And Israel, unless we can edit the definition of peace, and we can change the term peace from peace to temporary peace, because we can have temporary peace. For that, Israel needs technology. For that, Israel needs weapons. For that, Israel needs to, cement its legacy as probably the most powerful country in the Middle East. I think it's an image that it must maintain. October 7th was a disaster. It was should have never happened. But I know we're capable of much more than that. I know we have, some of the smartest people in the world. I know we're going to figure it out. I know we're going to figure things out. And I'm full of hope and belief that, we will be okay. We also have God on our side. But I also believe that God is on the side of everyone, not just ours.
Timur, why many of the Israeli Arab feel confused? For example, Dalal Abu Amna, Dr. Dalal Abu Amna, it's right pro-Hamas and work in Technion. Technion has a relation with the Israeli Defense Army. Also, Maisa Abdel Hadi write about pro-Hamas, and after that go to the Bibi government and take money to be an actor. So why is I feel there is many characters in the Arab society confused, pro-Hamas and to go to work with the Israeli government. Is correct questions?
Yeah, we also have Khan 11 channels. We have Makan.
Makan, yes. By Arabic, yeah.
Yeah, they're anti-Semites. Listen, I worked at I-24 News. I worked there for like 7 months. That was 5 years ago. And when I worked there...
By the way, Joe is our correspondent here.
I worked there too.
Oh, you worked there too?
Yeah.
I was in the control, and, I was with the Arabs all the time. I understand Arabic, I speak Arabic. But no one else did. No one in the control would understand anything. And they're massive anti-Semites, and they work here, Israeli news.
They
channel.
attack the Bibi and they go to him.
Wait, in the control room, you're saying the Arab channel speak about things.
For example, there's a debate. There's an Arabic. There's right. There are debates on the Arabic shows, whatever.
Yeah.
So they would come in sometimes, a bunch of them from the desk. They'll be talking, asking questions, trying to help the person, the anchor man, just to assist him. When they would come in, they're like, what they're talking about, whatever, they're trying to tune in. They came in after a few minutes. They're trying to figure out what's happening. And then they would say something like, where are you with? Whose side are you taking? And they would say, Astaghfirullah Azim, wala marra ma'a as-Sahyuni. So they would say like this. So it's like,
please God
gracious.
forgive me. Yes.
No, yeah, it's like goodness gracious. Never the Zionist. I'm never on the side of the Zionist.
Yes.
And then you hear little comments here. So you know how they really feel. But I don't need them to say anything to understand, because I'm one of them. So I really know. I was born and raised the same way they were. So we were exposed to very, very similar things. I don't need them to come and say something like, oh, they just said that. No, I know this. I've heard this. I said this when I was a child myself.
We all live in a multiplicity of identities and realities. So I think that Israel is quite a heightened case of that. And I will say, like I-24 News, for anyone watching who doesn't know it's an Israeli news channel. It's actually 3 Israeli news channels. I've served as their UK correspondent for 10 years. But I'm kind of out of it by being here. But they have 3 channels: English, French, and Arabic. And they're all in the same office with 3 studios and pods in the same place. And so close and yet so far. That's the point I think you're making, is, these 3 groups of people are existing inside the same place, and they're divided by language, they're divided by belief, they're divided by all of that. And in a sense, I think that's one of the beauties and the problems, right?
Yes, definitely.
So I want to ask you specifically, not about, old media, I-24 and what have you, and as we kind of come to a close, I want to ask you about what you're doing online. You made this journey yourself from your upbringing, your youth, to where you are now, with quite a big transition. And then you decided to take this online and talk to others about it. What made you do that? And what's your ambition with it? Tell me, and your strategy. What are you doing online? You have this increasing following. I'm really fascinated to hear about what you're trying to do and what the response is.
Yes, it actually started, we don't want to go back to 2024, but it started with this one video. My very, very first video I made, first of all, I did not receive many views. It received like 200 or 300 views. Today, it has maybe 500,000. Why? Because it's not on my channel. After 2 years, the video was on my channel for 2 years. After 2 years, someone came to my channel. He downloaded the video because he liked it, and he posted it on his page. And it was passed around. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing it here and there. On this channel, I'm going over 3 characters. The first is a gay Muslim Palestinian cross-dressing journalist. Right? You're from I-24, so you might know what I'm talking about. But that's the first. The second is a Muslim woman, and the third is a Muslim man, right? So these are 3 Arabs. So I just went over the 3 characters and their characteristics, and basically personal stories that happened with them. And I couldn't take the hypocrisy. So the gay guy, he was just like, he's super proud Palestinian. He calls himself a queen. His profile is delusion, everything is it's pure delusion. So when I saw it, I was like, what? So I started my video like this. What does a gay Palestinian guy, a straight Palestinian girl, and a religious Palestinian Muslim have in common? I've made all 3. The first is a gay cross-dressing journalist, and he will fight for Palestine, even though Palestine will fight to make sure that he has no air to breathe. So, and then I went over the others, and then I was expressing how I felt because he attacked me. He attacked on the personal level. He attacked me. And the Arab girl that also worked at the channel attacked me. And I just couldn't take her hypocrisy because I saw her dating and stuff like that. And I was like, how are you doing this? Because you would get killed if you get this state that you want, if you get caught, going out and stuff. But the third is a Muslim man that was just an honest guy. The honest guy said, I don't care about Palestine. I don't care about anything, but I will die for Al-Aqsa. I will do anything for Muhammad, So I was like, okay, here are the 3 people. How can they coexist? How can I meet the 3 of them? I can meet them because they're in Israel. Because Israel protects all 3 of them, allows them to basically be whatever they are. And they wouldn't be here. One would be a refugee, one would be dead, and the third would be here saying, Alhamdulillah. So I started by making this very first video, and it became a form of self-expression. Every time I just had a hard time digesting something I heard or read or watched or anything, TV, real life, I would sit down and I'd start to share a story. And I would just talk to the camera. I would talk. And I ended up making 100-something videos. Not all of them got a lot of clicks. Some of them have thousands. Some of them have nothing. Some of them, So I didn't care. It was therapy for me to go out there and just talk about these issues. And I would look forward to this. I would go to work in the morning, come back, get ready with the lights and everything, sit down. I was like, okay, this is your time. Sit down and just talk to the camera. But then I realized no one wants to sit down and listen for hours. So I have to make my content shorter and shorter. In the very beginning, I was making 20-minute videos. Who's going to sit down and watch it for 20 minutes talking about Muhammad? Only Muhammad people maybe, but it's not good things about Muhammad. So I trimmed it. I went down to 7 minutes and 5 minutes and 4 minutes. And then my popularity was, increasing the shorter my content got. When I got to the point where I was making 1-minute videos, all of a sudden it's what? Thousands. They're coming and the shares and the likes and the nonstop notifications. So I think it's an art to really be able to, and it's difficult to take a lot of information and condense it into a minute. It's difficult. You gotta draw them in right away, and then you gotta deliver the message, and then you gotta keep them there. You want them to watch, and then it's not so simple. So I decided to do this. I started hips hidden in plain sight. I thought it was very fitting for me because I'm kind of hidden in plain sight. You know, I can walk around, be among Arabs, but I'm a Jew, and I can be around among Jews, and they don't know I'm an Arab.
Well, listen, I mean, thank you so much for talking with us. Like, I hope that despite what you said, people stuck with us for more than the 1 minute. I'll have to check the analytics because it's been a really interesting conversation. I think we could go on for ages, and I think, you know, full strength to you doing what you're doing, because one of the things that's most refreshing is you don't speak in black and white. You speak in confusions and shades of grey and different identities that cross over. And that's really what I think we all need to make a bit more space and time for in these conversations, is to understand really all the ways in which we're different as well as the ways in which we're the same.
And also, I am sorry to say that I am Muslim, but in the Muslim society, you will pay when you will be honest, and when you direct, you will pay. We will pay a lot.
Well, we all must speak the truth as we see it, and I think that you're certainly doing that for the world to see. So I hope long may it continue, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Barakallah fiik, Timor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Today, actually, I had I got called by a reality TV show. I'll tell you this. I was so shocked. I was surprised, like crazy. And they're like, we want you. We've seen you. You know, I've been on TV for the past week. On Tuesday, Channel 14 called. On Wednesday, Channel 13 called. On Thursday, Channel 12 called. Today, Channel 11 called me. They want to make a documentary about me.
There is no makan. Till now, no makan.
No, not makan. It's
not makan. Yes, 11. Yes, I know.
So what's the reality show?
They're sending this atheist guy who's anti-Judaism to come and annoy me. That's what that's the piece they're trying to create. And it's crazy. But this reality show called as well, I was just shocked. And they invited me to come and have coffee with them and talk to them. And I did it. I went, and it was an interesting conversation. And I was just telling them, like, when they told me, like, what's your dream? I said to be truthful and spread light. So that's how I wanted to close this. And that's my dream and goal. And that's why I'm doing this. In the beginning, I started doing this because I wanted to awaken Jews who did not really understand what was happening here. Because unfortunately, while the world sees Jews as one, as if everything they do is one and they think as one, Jews don't think as one. Jews argue with each other all the time. So I wanted to bridge the gaps, but at the same time, I just wanted to do what's called in Hebrew achdut, and promote that and help with that, and really just spread light and be truthful all the time, no matter what, at any cost.
Timor, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you for having me.
Fi amanillah. Bye.
Habibi.
That's all we've got time for this episode, but do keep watching Peace Talk for more talk, hopefully leading to more peace.
Although all the difficulties, we will continue.
Exactly. They can't stop us.